Hey delegates of the World Health Organization, it's wonderful to see so many of you going to be participating at St. Paul's MUN 2015, and we really look forward to having you at this conference. Now, the WHO is probably the most unique committee among all the other committees. Most of the other committees are very standard UN committees, the SPECPOL, the UNHRC, the UNSC. Most of them are always simulated in MUNs. One of the committees that is really not simulated in an MUN is the World Health Organization. At the same point in time, what I'd really like to tell all of you is the World Health Organization is probably one of the most logical committees that you can be a part of, and a committee in which you should really proactively work towards solving the solution in the most comprehensive manner possible. If you are a part of the SPECPOL or the United Nations Security Council, you might not understand various modalities, but the topics that are generally discussed in a World Health Organization committee are always very logical and very simple to understand. For example, the topic for the committee at St. Paul's MUN 2015 is making expensive drugs for curing cancer, among other diseases, more accessible in rural regions of Africa. Alright? Basically, it is about making drug availability easier in most regions of Africa for curing diseases like cancer, AIDS, Ebola, yellow fever, all kinds of diseases. Alright? And there is no rocket science involved with this issue. What most delegates firstly need to find out is what are the different diseases that are really affecting Africa in a huge way. Ebola is one thing that has really crept up in recent times. Cancer is of course okay there. AIDS is a huge issue in Africa. Yellow fever is another issue. Various diseases and various problems of this sort, which are more or less epidemics, have spread across Africa for numerous reasons. Now, when you all will research, you all will understand that Africa as a continent is one of the most backward continents, unfortunately, because most of the countries in this continent have suffered as a result of civil war on a regular basis. As a result of civil war, there has been a lot of poverty, and as a result of poverty, there is the lack of health facilities, which is causing such problems. Apart from this, very poor sanitation, poor facilities of even living and shelter have caused a further outbreak of these diseases. Another thing that further contributes towards all these things is the fact that Africa in itself has a huge population. Okay, so huge population with a backward way of life has really affected the continent as a whole, and these diseases spread more rapidly in Africa than most other parts of the world. Okay, in spite of this, healthcare facilities are probably the worst in this continent. As a person, very personally, I feel very bad for this continent because it is probably affected by every problem that mankind can think of. One of the things is be easily contained or even cured. There are vaccines for various diseases, there are medications for various diseases, but most people in Africa have no access to them. And the reason for this is not because often they are not available, but because they are available but yet very expensive. Often these drugs, buying one tablet or probably buying one full sachet is equivalent to the salary of a particular African person for the entire month. So making these expensive drugs more easily available is very important. Okay, so now that brings me to the next question. What will you guys do as delegates in the World Health Organization if you all are not African countries? First, you need to understand, if you are an African country, what is the situation as far as health facilities are concerned in your country, what are the major diseases that are affecting it, and what are the requirements. As African countries which are getting affected, you all are going to request various other developed countries and countries across the world to provide aid, to provide expensive drugs at subsidized rates, offer healthcare facilities, offer doctors through the World Health Organization, in order to ensure that people who are otherwise dying as a result of these diseases and various other epidemics do not. On the other hand, most other countries of the world, you all have to understand that what is the situation of health in your country firstly, and what are the different facilities and what are the different actions that you have taken in relation to not only helping countries in Africa with expensive drugs and other healthcare facilities, but also countries all across the world. Okay, you all are going to have to understand that, and that as a whole is going to decide how committee moves forward. You have to also understand that the entire agenda in the World Health Organization is very different from the agendas in the different other committees, simply because you're not going to have different sets of countries having different stances and fighting with each other in the WHO. In the WHO, everybody uniformly has the same stance. Everybody believes that the situation of these deadly diseases killing people in Africa needs to be cured, and the drugs are very expensive. Hence, they need to be provided at subsidized rates. So all of you all are going to be sitting and discussing how this can be done. Now, I don't want various delegates to be illogical and say, we'll provide $1.2 billion in aid, we'll provide these many medicines, because that's not how it happens in the world. In order to make sure what kind of medicines you can offer and what kind of aid you can offer, you need to research well on your country. We have provided the country specific research process for that. So make sure you research well on your country. Beyond this, you have to understand that making expensive drugs easily available is not simply about buying the drugs and providing money to buy them. It is also about, the accessibility. Expensive drugs often are not accessible to many parts of Africa because, there are no proper road facilities, especially in villages where the population concentrations are often very high. It is also about, the accessibility. Expensive drugs often are not accessible to many parts of Africa because, there are no proper road facilities, especially in villages where the population concentrations are often very high. Apart from this, there are no proper healthcare officials, there are no proper doctors who can provide proper prescriptions. Most people, their diagnosis is not done right, due to which they die. So diagnosis also becomes a problem. Then the types of drugs for various diseases are not available. Vaccines are not available. So you need to break down the issue into all of these small topics, discuss them, and discuss logical methods of how to make these vaccines and various other drugs more easily available, transportation more easily available, and what commitments different countries can make. It is a step-by-step process. It becomes like a case study project of sorts in which all of you are working on it together. Are you following me? So please make sure that you all work collaboratively. You can have different draft resolutions, different working papers, but the point is everybody should contribute towards coming up with a final solution. The topic and committee is probably closer to my heart than the others because it gives you the best opportunity, as I stated, to come up with the most real life and most implementable solution possible for a particular MUN committee. I wish all delegates of the World Health Organization the best of luck. Please do research well. If you have any doubts with procedure, please go through the MUN procedural video that has been shared with all the faculty coordinators, apart from being uploaded on the St. Paul's MUN website. And of course, if you have any doubts, please rest assured that this MUN is a learning experience as well. The chairs are going to be helping committee move forward. So don't come with any kind of fear. You might have some butterflies in your stomach, which is regular nervousness before an event, be it a debate or an MUN, but do not come with a scared attitude, because that will defeat the entire purpose of participation. Use the MUN as a learning experience, and your chairs will also do their best. Alright? Thank you so much. All the best. See you guys on this Friday, which is the 30th of October 2015.